Okay, dividing decimals. I'm going to do some examples of dividing decimals so that you can make sure that you understand all the steps involved. And if you struggle with this, don't worry, you're not alone. This is one of the ones that gives most people the most trouble. So let's do my first example, 5.25 divided by 0.5, okay? So I've got my problem, now I'm going to set it up. 5.25 divided by 0.5. Okay, now we've talked about this. There's a red flag after I've got it set up. I've got a decimal on the outside, and I cannot ever have a decimal on the outside. So I need to move it to the end, make it a whole number. That becomes 5. But if I move it here, I have to move it here. One space for one space. So here is the new place of my decimal. Now I have a whole new problem. My problem is 52.5 divided by 5. So I move my decimal up into my answer bracket. Now, this is what I've seen a lot of kiddos do. You're going to take 5 into 5. Some of you will be like, well, how many times will 5 go into 52? Don't look at this whole number. You take it digit by digit. How many times will 5 go into 5? It'll go in there once. 1 times 5 is 5, so I subtract it. Bring down my next digit. I've already brought down my digits, so how many times will 5 go into 2? Well, 5 is bigger than 2, so it will not go into it. So I have to hold my place. 5 times 0 is 0. Subtract. And 5 will go into 25 5 times. Notice, I only bring down one digit at a time. Never bring down more than one digit, ever. Okay, so that will be my final answer, is 10.5. All right, my next problem. 13.2 divided by 4. So I'm going to set it up. 13.2 divided by 4. Okay, now I have a decimal underneath my bracket, but I don't have one on the outside. So we're good to go. We don't have to move any decimals anywhere. This problem doesn't require it. Now, this decimal right here, it is part of my answer. So you do bring it up, but you don't have to move it anywhere in the number. Will 4 go into 1? No, it won't. So you cannot write anything above that 1. It has to stay blank, or you can hold your place with a little X so that you don't write anything above that 1. 4 will go into 13 3 times. 4 times 3 is 12, so I subtract. Bring down my next number. 4 will go into 12 3 times. My remainder is 0, so I'm done. So the answer to that problem is 3.3. Take a look back at the beginning of this. If I had written this 3 above the 1 where I'm not supposed to, and then I wrote this 3 right behind it, my answer would have been 33 instead of 3.3. Now, the only thing that you did wrong was write the number right here in the wrong space. So you have to make sure that when you're dividing this out, you're writing your quotient or your answer above the right numbers. It's all about place value and process. Okay? One final problem. 32 divided by 5.5. Okay, I'm going to move it over here and set it up. 32 divided by 5.5. Okay, I've got my red flag again. I've got the decimal on the outside of the bracket, and you can't have that. So move it to the end. It now becomes 55. But where's my decimal in 32? I don't see one. So decimal is automatically at the end of the number. And just because it's at the end of the number doesn't mean you don't move it. Still move it over 1. And what do I hold my place with? A 0. So your new problem is now 320 divided by 55. Now I can start working out my problem. 55 won't go into 3. Can't write anything above it. 55 won't go into 32. Can't write anything above it. But 55 will go into 320 5 times. 5 times 55 is 275. So when I subtract this out, borrow. I get 45. Now my remainder is not 0, so I can't stop. I've got to keep going. But I don't have any more numbers to bring down. So this is where we do add the decimal. We add a decimal here and bring it up. Our 0 comes down. So how many times will 55 go into 450? It'll go in there 8 times. Okay? Subtract 440. 10. Now my remainder is still not 0, so I got to keep going. You can add as many zeros as you need to. Once you've added that decimal, you can add as many zeros as you need to. Okay? 55 will go into 100 one time. Okay? Now a little pattern has emerged. I've got 450 again. We know it'll go in there 8 times. So you're going to see this repeat. It's going to be 5.818181. And once you figured that out, you can stop dividing. And I tell you only have to go to 3 digits anyways. Now, this number right here is bigger than 5, so we have to bump that one up. So our final answer is 5.82. Okay, and that is it for dividing decimals.